what do I want to say? Hey guys, it's April with So Fashion Week TV, and welcome to my channel. So Fashion Week TV is a lifestyle, health, beauty, and fashion space here on YouTube. If you like content such as this, I would strongly urge you to subscribe to my channel. And if you do subscribe, please be sure to click the notifications bell so that you can be notified when I upload a new video on here. So let's go ahead and jump into the topic of today's video. We're going to be talking about two things in particular. The first thing is binge eating disorder, and the second is going to be cross addiction. So as you guys know, I had vertical sleeve gastrectomy surgery done as a revision surgery from Lap-Band back on October 3rd, 2016. And I am now a little over 1 year post-op and 87 pounds down. I am so overjoyed, overwhelmed, elated, all of those things. And what I'm doing now is daily reflection on my life in general leading up to this point. And I'm even looking back as far as I can remember to kind of figure out some of the things that have plagued me and that had caused me to get to what I believe was the lowest place in my life. So much so that I had to dig my way out to get to the place that I am today. And I'm so grateful and so thankful. And as I continue to strive toward greatness, I'm doing this constant reflection and bringing it to you guys, so that if there is someone out there who is struggling or going through the same thing, that you are able to better deal with those things and then come out of it on top. For as long as I can remember, I have always felt to some degree neglected. I felt abandoned, and I have felt alone. So when I was born in 1977, I was born to two teenage parents. I believe my mother was 16 years old when she had me, and my father was probably around the same age, 16 or 17. So with that being said, they needed help. And thank God that my grandparents were there to step in. So I had my grandmother on my mother's side, and I had my grandmother and my grandfather on my father's side. I thank them immensely for the contribution that they have made on my life. My grandfather is in heaven now. Shouts out to him. And both of my grandmothers, they're still here with me today. And I love them so very much. And I thank them so very much for the contributions that they've made to my life and getting me to the place that I am today. My mother and father, I love them dearly. I would have to be honest with myself and say that as a result of them not being there, I grew up feeling alone. I grew up feeling neglected and abandoned. They were in and out. They were there, you know, but they were not there. So as a result of that, I struggled a whole lot, and I don't know how I was able to mask it for as long as I did. I mean, I could remember always being told that the reason why I was slightly heavier than my sister is because I took after my mother's side of the family, and that my sister took after my father's side of the family. But I don't think that was it at all. I think what it was that I found comfort in food because food was always around. Whereas when I needed my mom or when I needed my dad, they were not. And I was not always able to voice that concern because one, my grandmother was always working, and two, when I was with my grandmother and my grandfather, we were always doing so many things. So we were going to the supermarket, we were going to the hardware store. I had my aunts, and they were always very loving and a major contribution to my life as well. But it's just something very different, you know, with your parents when you have your mom. I can remember one thing in particular. I was 10 years old, and I was actually lying down on my grandmother's bed, and I was coloring, and I started feeling bubbles down in my underwear, and I'm like, oh my God, what is this? So I went to the bathroom, and when I went to the bathroom, I discovered that I had my period. And so the only person that was there that I felt comfortable enough to confide in was my sister, who was 2 years younger than me. And she was so nonchalant. My sister is amazing. She's always been way stronger than me. So she didn't go through, or at least I don't think that she went through a lot of the struggles that I went through not having my parents around all the time. But she was like, oh girl, that's your period. But I was so afraid to tell my grandmother because I thought I was going to get in trouble. My grandmother was older. And I can remember wanting my mother to be there so bad, and she was not there. And so yeah, I think a lot of my food issues stemmed from my parents not being there. And when they weren't there, you know, I would always get deep in my feelings about them not being there, and you know, it would make me really, really sad. So how I would get over that is through food, and I have been doing that since I was a child. And so identifying that is basically where it comes from. It was so refreshing to finally say, you know what, I get it now. Not having my parents and not being able to confide in them, to talk to them when I really wanted to talk to them, and even when I did have them around, it was always that like we had to share. So I'll give you an example. My mom, everyone loves my mom. My mom has a lot of friends and things like that, and there was never a time when we would visit with my mom or we can just be with her. It was always her and a whole bunch of other people. With my dad had a girlfriend, and his girlfriend had children. So when I visited with my father, we always had to visit with his girlfriend and her kids and their dog and all of that. So when I would have to leave them and go home, it was like, well, why is it that my parents, they're going back to these people and I have to be with somebody else, and these are my parents. Why can't they be with me? Why do they have to be with other people? So I've always had a big major issue with that, and you know, it probably would have been wise for me to voice that concern with them. Even being a child, I just feel that, you know, it would have been wise for me at that time to voice that, because at least if I would have expressed that to them, maybe something would have changed. But because I was fearful of doing that and fearful of maybe being let down or nothing changing, I just didn't. I just, you know, kept it inside. And I still deal with that even now today with the fact that, you know, when they were around, it was like I still had to share them with people. We can never just have them. And so yeah, I used food as a coping mechanism because I didn't know what else to do. Food was always around and it tastes good and it made me feel good, so that's what I did. And so it only got worse as the years progressed. So as years went on, then I began to see the weight come on and stick on me. So I was always a little, you know, a little chunky monkey, but not obese, but I always had a lot more weight on me than my younger sister. One of the things that I can say about my sister is that she was fearless. I was not the type of person that was going to go to some random person's house and stay with them just to be with my mother. Like, I would not settle for that. So there was a lot of things that my sister would do that I wouldn't do, which is why my sister got to spend a lot more time with my mom than me. And I don't regret that at all. It was just that I felt more comfortable being in a place that was familiar to me. I was very uncomfortable in places and around people that were not familiar. So I opted to stay separate from that, and for a good reason. And I think that that was the best decision. I do know that it helped me to be a better mother to my children. And so I never liked to leave them. I would always like my kids to be with me. And I think that is a good thing. I don't get the Mother of the Year award because I am in no way, shape, or form the best mother, but I strive to be each and every day. But yeah, so knowing and understanding where my issues with food stem from, it was a breakthrough for me. A great breakthrough. So they say that 1 in 3 individuals who are obese suffer with binge eating disorder. And so they describe it as someone who has like these repeated episodes of eating large quantities of food in one sitting or within a 2-hour period. And when you're doing this, you feel completely out of control. You may also eat until you are way too full. You might eat when you're alone only, or you might eat very, very rapidly. So don't think that just because you've had weight loss surgery that your eating disorder goes away. You are still going to struggle with the eating disorder. So I have a smaller stomach now, so I can't eat large quantities, but I do still suffer with some symptoms of binge eating disorder, and that I do eat very fast. And I have to learn, even now, that okay, slow down. It's okay. The food's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to run away. Slow down. So I think it's important for us individuals who have had bariatric surgery, and for those who are going into having bariatric surgery, whether you're thinking about it, whether you're about scheduled to have it and your date is coming up, what you need to realize is that if you have any form of an eating disorder, it makes your bariatric surgery actually more risky, because if you don't deal with the issues that caused the eating disorder to begin with, then you can have a relapse, and that can cause a whole host of other issues later on down the line. So what am I saying here? Come on, get your thoughts together. So here lately, I have noticed that I have been doing a lot more shopping than normal. Now, keep in mind that I have lost 87 pounds, and a lot of my clothes do not fit. Almost none of my clothes fit anymore. So I did need clothes, but I do think that I went a little overboard. So I wanted to keep a close eye on that, and to kind of do some research on why it is that I'm doing that. And I stumbled upon cross addiction. So cross addiction, they loosely define it as someone exchanging one drug of abuse, such as food, for another, like alcohol or shopping or gambling. And so I do realize that, like I said, here lately, I have been doing a lot of unnecessary shopping, and I wanted to try to get a handle on that before it got out of control. So I stumbled upon this article on obesityaction.org, and they had some questions on here that I actually used to kind of figure out if this was something that I could possibly be struggling with, or if I was at least at risk for cross addiction. So being able to get ahead of it is the best course of action that anyone could take. So I'm going to share these 6 questions with you guys, and you can do some self-evaluation on your own, just like I did, so that you can figure things out and get on board. So the first question is, do you overeat to help deal with emotions that you are uncomfortable with? I've done that. I've done that. Not so much today, but I have done that. Do you use food to give you comfort? Absolutely. Absolutely. Do you have a family history of drug and alcohol addiction? Both my mom and dad were drug users at one point in their life. So yes, there is a history of drug addiction. If you think about having to change what you eat and how much you eat, do you feel sad, lonely, or afraid? So I can insert a video clip right here where I had been talking about the fact that I had to lose weight, and how I was so against bariatric surgery and the thought of not being able to eat. Absolutely. Absolutely. Having that footage is so valuable, being able to go back and to reflect on that, because now I understand better. I didn't really understand why I was recording myself and not even being woman enough to upload it because I was so ashamed of how I looked. But now having that to go back and reflect on is so valuable. Next question. Have you ever felt that food is your best friend? Yes, I felt that food was my refuge when my parents were not there and I was missing them and wanting them. Yeah, I resorted to food. Absolutely, I did. Do you have a history of trauma, abuse, or neglect? Yes, I do. Even after becoming an adult, my very first relationship that I had in high school was with someone who was very abusive. Very, very abusive. And you know, I remember like my first day of high school, this guy, he was like on me like right away. And I ended up spending like 3 years with him, and he was very, very abusive. So it kind of went from me being in a dysfunctional situation as a child to growing into a woman and being in a bunch of dysfunctional relationships with men. And it wasn't up until I met my husband that I finally gained some stability well into my 30s. Thank God. Thank you, Jesus. But yeah, so all of these things apply to me, which puts me at a higher risk for cross addiction. So I'm really trying to hold myself accountable. I'm coming on here and I'm sharing this information with you, not only for you, but for me as well, so that I can get ahead of this and to make sure that I am not leveraging the fact that I have a job, I work every day, and I can spend money. I'm not leveraging that to cope with not being able to eat food. So in closing, having weight loss surgery without dealing with your emotional attachments to food could certainly lead to cross addiction. So the best thing that you can do for you, if you've already had your weight loss surgery and you're now recognizing what those emotional attachments were, the only thing that you can do at this point is honor your past. Accept the fact that this was the life that you lived. Perhaps that was the only way you knew how to live at that time. You're a different person now. You don't have to wait years to heal. The healing process actually begins with your awareness and commitment to getting help. So if you need to talk to someone, seek help. Seek the help of a therapist. It's okay. I know it's taboo to some people, but it's okay. Keep a journal of stressful time. And then make a list of your comfort foods. If you're still relying on food for comfort, what are those comfort foods? Make a list and start omitting them from your diet. One by one, pick them off. So yeah, that basically does it for this video. I am going to haul some of the stuff that I purchased. Like I said, I didn't need clothes. I don't think I need as many as I purchased, but I am going to come on here if you guys would like to see a haul video. I don't know. Let me know in the comments below if it's something that you want to see. If it's not something that you want to see here on this channel, then maybe I won't upload it. But I do the fashion thing. I love fashion, everything about it. I love it. So I do want to start to bring some of that here to the channel. So if you guys want to see a haul video, I can upload one for you. But I'm just basically holding myself accountable and dealing with some of the issues that I feel have plagued me for so many years, and I'm facing these things head on going into my 40s, so that I can continue to be successful on this journey. We all want to be great, and like I said, greatness begins with intention. So it is my intent to continue to stay on the path of greatness, and in order to do that, I have to deal with all of the issues that have led me up to this point. Got to deal with them. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. What issues are you guys dealing with? Have you felt neglected, abandoned in your life? Do you think these are things that have contributed to your issues with obesity? Let's get into a conversation about it below. I would love to hear your stories. And remember, I believe in you, and so you do. I love you guys, and I will see you in the next video. Bye guys.